Now, Pam Bondi recently said that there's no more files that are going to come out. And obviously, this is a huge hoax, probably pushed by the Dems.
Yes.
Probably pushed by those libs.
Right.
You know? And so
What's the Dow out today? Have we checked?
Above 50,000.
We can't talk about this. We got to stop the podcast.
We don't
can't
need
be
to
doing
talk
this.
about anything.
Yeah.
Who cares about a
No,
prolific...
49,500. We're good.
we
We're
can
good.
talk about
We're good.
it. This is about to be a short one. Okay. Sagar, can you please clear some things up here? Because it looks like the administration has maybe told some lies. And the last time you came down here, you broke down this Epstein thing in an absolutely amazing way. Clearly, you've been dedicated to this and not, raising your newborn child. And we greatly appreciate that. So we'd like you to get to the bottom of this. Is it possible that Ms. Bondi is lying?
Well, let's
Not Ms. Bondi.
Let's run it back. So everybody's focused on her most recent disastrous performance where she tries to obfuscate. She tells Thomas Massie, you're an anti-Trumper, you have TDS. She's saying the Dow is at 50,000. What's wrong with all of you for caring about this? Well, I would say, Ms. Bondi, what's wrong with you? So Griffin, can we go ahead and put Pam Bondi list is on my desk. This is a clip almost from a year ago, actually, back February 21st, so almost exactly 1 year ago to the day. And here is what she said from the steps of the White House lawn about how the list is on her desk. Let's take a listen.
DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump. I'm reviewing that. I'm reviewing JFK files, MLK files. That's all in the process of being reviewed because that was done at the directive of the president from all of these agencies.
So have you seen anything that you said, oh my gosh?
Not yet.
Not yet. She said she had a truckload of files that were literally on her desk, right? That's what she said. She had a truckload of files that were on her desk. That's what she said on February 21st from the steps of the White House.
That was
lawn.
a year ago?
That was almost exactly 1 year ago to the day that you and I are all taping.
If you see the way that she's aged, you must believe there's some horrific stuff.
I'll let you.
A year ago.
I will let you all speculate as to that.
We need her on the Rotuda ride.
Retineride. That's no free ads though. No free ads. Well, you can't even get it because it's a clinical trial. There was also Kash Patel. There's also Kash Patel. Shall we remember Kash Patel on before Congress? This was not that long ago. Griffin, it's the very first element that we have in the administration.
Shout out Griffin is here with us.
Shout out to my executive producer, Griffin, who was here.
Pulling
up all the
1 minute in pulls up stuff faster than Joe. This is incredible.
Information that Jeffrey Epstein trafficked minors. Kash Patel, the FBI director.
Cash money.
There's no credible information. None. If there were, I would bring the case yesterday that he trafficked to other individuals. And the information we have, again, is limited.
So the answer is no one?
For the information that we have.
In the files?
In the case file.
So that was Kash Patel. There's no credible information that Jeffrey Epstein trafficked minors. And I can say unequivocally that that is just not true. Now, you can try to parse the language around the word of trafficking, but if we stick specifically with the question of abuse from everything that we've learned. So the body of information that I'm working from today is all of the 3 million files that were released by the Department of Justice. As a reminder, there are 3 million more files. In fact, Channel 4 News in the UK just did an expose saying that, in fact, there might be only 2% of the files that have been released right now. So some 98% of the information hasn't been. But we can say, empirically, based on these files, as well as a hacked trove of emails I had access to through my colleagues and friends over at Dropsite News, 40,000 emails, we can say that that's not true. And I can give you a very simple and easy example. Griffin, it's under Pizzagate in the spreadsheet, more than 20 girls, my own tweet. This was one of my own stories that I broke from one of the hacked emails that I found inside of Jeffrey Epstein's own sent inbox, where he sent himself a memo. If you click on that, just so they can read the text message, here's an email he wrote to himself, privileged and confidential, spelling confidential wrong. He says, though I required girls over 18, the results don't reflect it. The feds have spoken to or know of girls between the ages of 16 to 18. If we extrapolate, we should assume there are 20 girls in that age range. That's a message that he wrote to himself in 2007, specifically in a sent inbox that was meant eventually for forwarding to his own private.
And the FBI has access to this information.
Not only does the FBI have access to this, they're saying that the FBI had knowledge of that information, right? So this is an email directly where he's acknowledging that there are 20 underage women that he specifically, that they knew about from the FBI.
Are you
so what's the new
Kash
actual information?
But are you alleging that Kash could be lying under oath?
Right. Well, that's a very interesting question, isn't it? Right. Under the Congress. Now, is it technically a lie if you never get get prosecuted for the lie if the people who are there who are in charge of it? These are interesting questions as to what's actually in power. But if we look at Pam Bondi, her past claims, remember she also had that influencer event, handed out Epstein files part one. Nobody forced Kash Patel to come on podcasts before the election to say, I'm going to release all this information. Pam Bondi to say, I have the client list on my desk, to hand out these client binders, and then basically turn into an instrument of the cover-up. And what they've done with this cover-up is we've seen a number of files that were redacted specifically against the law. And I think it's interesting to think, last time I was here, this was before the Epstein Files Transparency Act was passed.
Right.
The Epstein Files Transparency Act specifically says redactions should only apply in the case of national security and or victim identification. And in multiple instances now, we've seen that they have redacted the names of co-conspirators, of names of very powerful individuals. So if we want, one
real quick,
example.
could you give an example of national security?
National security is a very interesting one because that's one that's really up to the DOJ. Oh, sorry, there's one third one, which is active investigation. So one of the reasons why this is really important is that there is currently, this is from Thomas Massey, a theory that because of this file release, they are starting actively investigating a number of these cases, which they can now drag on for a long period, let's say up to 3 years until Donald Trump is out of office, to make sure that none of the other information comes to light. So even the Files Transparency Act gave them outs, but even within the outs that they had multiple cover-ups, right? So one of the more egregious example is Les Wexner. Let's go to co-conspirators, Griffin. Let's put the Wexner cover up. So this is the Deputy Attorney General, Todd Blanche. And here Thomas Massey called him out where he found a redacted piece inside of the file labeled co-conspirator. Thomas Massey says this is a well-known retired CEO. DOJ should unredact this. Why did they redact it? Let's go to the DOJ's explanation. He says the document you cite has numerous victim names. We have unredacted Wexner's name from the document. His name appears in the file thousands of times. DOJ is hiding nothing. However, that document did not have any victim name on it. Not one. And specifically, they decided to redact co-conspirator here. Wexner, for those of you who haven't watched our previous episode, is the source, and some would speculate, the potential originator of the Epstein mythology. So this is a person who signs over power of attorney. He never fully explains his decades-long relationship with Epstein. He gives him the house where there eventually is some financial makeup right here in New York City, the infamous Epstein townhouse for tens of millions of dollars, the largest townhome literally in the entire city. The
home is frequented by all these.
The home is frequented by Israeli prime ministers and all of these other individuals for meetings and financiers and Prince Andrew, and people are staying. I mean, it's a real destination for the Epstein class. Yeah, for all of these, multi-billionaires.
Yes.
Full credit to Ro Khanna, the congressman. He's the person who coined that term. And I think it's important. And, people are like, why do you even care about this? And I think that this story fundamentally is about how the rule of law does not apply to the rich and powerful, about how morality itself does not exist in many cases within the rich and powerful. And it also, I think it's an inspiring story. It demystifies the sources of their wealth and how much greater they are than all of us. Because the story that Les Wexner and many of the billionaires have said for many years is that Jeffrey Epstein was just this highly sophisticated financial mind, a genius at trading and at tax advice. I have searched all of these emails. There's no tax advice. In fact, there's only one. There's one. Where he sends a link of like a Business Insider article to his accountant. He's like, maybe we should try this.
This guy might be good at tax advice.
So apparently that's what he's charging. Now let's remember, Leon Black, one of the richest and powerful men here in New York City, is
part
the head of the Apollo Group, who literally pays Epstein $150 million. That's
a lot of money.
Allegedly for tax advice. I explained this last time. He has access to the private wealth houses of every major bank in New York, not Jeffrey Epstein, who is not licensed, not a trader, not a tax accountant, has no specialty. There's 3 million emails. I've got hacked emails. There's no tax advice.
Can I ask you just a question, and I'm a complete novice here, right? Is it possible that the tax advice is actually Epstein's proximity to people in power in our government, and that they can get sweetheart deals for each other and allow people to evade taxes while the rest of us are paying full clip?
There's tax evasion. There's money laundering. There's all kinds of a specialty book that Epstein had.
You're saying the rich keep getting richer.
The rich keep getting richer. The rest of us are suckers for
and they're not
taxes.
doing it by hard work. And they're not doing it by pulling up their
bootstraps. That's the funniest thing. The only indication that we got to Epstein's source of his wealth was Lord Mandelson, who is, by the way, was the UK ambassador to the United States until the Epstein files came out, where he shows he is tipping off Jeffrey Epstein about an upcoming bailout in the UK
So that he
for
can-
insider trading purposes. And by the way, Prince Andrew,
explain how that would work really quickly.
Right.
So he knows that there's going to be...
He knows that there's going to be a government bailout. He sends Jeffrey Epstein an email giving him an update that this bailout is coming
And that would
before
allow-
this is publicly announced. And thus, what are we able to see? Lord Mandelson, he goes specifically, Peter Mandelson secretly advising the CEO also on how to fight the Labor's 2009 banker's bonus tax, even after suggesting he, quote, mildly threatened the chancellor. Mandelson was then the business secretary. So there's two specific things here. He's brokering JP Morgan, pressuring the current UK administration of the time, and tipping him off for insider trading purposes as to what's happening.
But the tip-off, for example, is if you knew this bailout was coming,
Right.
you could, take some positions that would be advantageous to you and your
Absolutely.
cronies in the stock market that the rest of us would not know about.
So the rest of us are sitting there and be like, oh, is the UK going to bail him out or not? I mean,
Yeah.
I have no idea. It's not public information. Now, this is information coming directly into his inbox. This is the clearest picture that we have about outright criminality.
But you know
And
who's
it-
really doing insider trading?
What?
The girl that cooks with Snoop Dogg.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like,
What is her name?
and-
Martha Stewart.
Martha
Yeah,
Martha
yeah.
Stewart.
And
Yeah,
so
the girl
this-
that will design
this
your
is a
house. That's the
classic-
insider trading
This
we need to
is a
stop.
classic example of what we're saying, is that these people get away with all of the things that lower level people will be prosecuted for. There's a famous statistic, like if you make less than $25,000, you're 10 times more likely to get indicted by the IRS than somebody who makes over $2 million. It's like, exactly, right? And so like, why? Because they're easy cases. You send them a letter, you take their money. If you want to battle somebody with like 2, 5, 10, 15,
You're gonna be in
25
court
million,
for decades.
you're in court
Yeah.
for decades,
Yeah.
right? They have an army of attorneys. And that's why the inversion of the law allows this permission structure for the entire American and global elite, where they get away with financial crimes, they get away with money laundering, but they also get away with some of the most heinous crimes that I think as a society we have decided, which is the abuse and the traffic of women.